Okay, welcome to my tour through the Speech 1311 syllabus. What I did is I went to the TCC website and I found that there were a number of syllabi for speech instructors for the three courses that you suggest I teach, and I'm going to put this down before somebody gets hurt. I saw syllabi for 1311, for 1315, and for 1321, and I saw that they had a format that was very similar, running all the way from disability services down to additional class information. So what I did is I took that standard template and just inserted my content, and I actually recreated all three of these courses in about a 2-day period of just sitting there and doing it. So everything is fresh and new, even though I've taught this content many times over the years. So I'll just walk you through this first one to begin with. And some of these comments will apply to all three courses, beginning with disability. So I saw that TCC had a disability statement for students. What I did is I took that statement and just made it a bit more personal for the South Campus. So I put the telephone number for the South Campus, I put the name of the building on the South Campus there, and tried to make the language a little more accessible and welcoming for students, because I really do want them to know that they can chat with me, and I will do what I can to make whatever accommodations they need to for taking quizzes or whatever it is they need to have done. So that's disability. As far as the textbook for this course, Real Communication is a good text. I have looked through it in the past and have used another one that was very similar to it. I love this course because it is such a broad overview of communication arts that spans everything from intrapersonal communication all the way down to more public forms of communication. So it's a good introduction to students and can be a powerful tool to recruit students into communication, even into humanities. So that's something to consider from a recruiting standpoint. As far as special materials, in that section I wasn't exactly sure what to include. I'm sure I'll revise that as I go along. But I did think of three things that I think would be very helpful for students. The first one is Evernote, which I am an Evernote evangelist. I should get paid for the amount of people that I have shared Evernote with. I absolutely love it. It can be such a powerful tool for students to keep track of their learning throughout their entire academic careers, but even after they get out of school, to have all of that information accessible at their fingertips. So I'll suggest that students use Evernote, but they don't have to. And I even put a strongly worded statement in the syllabus that says, if you never use Evernote, you're not at one bit of a disadvantage compared to any other student. I also talked about social media, and I've been a professor of social media in the past where, well, not professor, but assistant professor was my past role. But it was really a signature course of mine to help students use social media effectively. So I would use it in the classroom as well. So I suggested three types of social media in particular in the syllabus. First is Twitter. So I would want to tweet about the course, just ideas that I come across, news stories that I might link to, and I would use the hashtag of Speech 1311. So hopefully, at the end of the year, end of the semester, there'll be a really good collection of content with that hashtag. And I would invite other students also to use that hashtag as well. LinkedIn is something that I will push for sure. I used to use Facebook back in the day, was probably like some of you, one of the very early adopters. I think I was one of the first 6 million to actually be on Facebook back with the .edu address. And that's worked well. It doesn't mean I won't continue to use it in the future, maybe even some for students, but I would love to get them on LinkedIn. And to help them bridge that gap between where they are now in the classroom and maybe where they would like to be within a professional environment. YouTube is also where I'll put videos, and I'm just exploring the idea of creating videos for instructional purposes. And that's a skill that I've really acquired, or am starting to acquire, since I last taught just 2.5 to 3 years ago. So that'll be fun to explore. The last thing that I'm including, which I've never done before, is text messaging, and I believe I mentioned this to you in the interview, and that is just to be available to students. And I always want to be professional, but at the same time I want to be accessible as well. And I'm just to share a real quick story. There is one student that I know of who is alive today because she felt that I was accessible. And late one Saturday night, it was actually Saturday morning, about 1 o'clock, I got a message from her where she reached out to me, and she had two children that she had already taken and delivered to her mom, and she was back at her place with a plan to commit suicide, and I was the last person that she was going to contact. It got really interesting. I tell you the rest of the story sometime, but the long story short is that I was able to somehow track her address and get police over at that location, and she ended up getting the medical and professional psychological help that she needed, and the last I saw, she was doing well. I want to be accessible for those students that are falling through the cracks, and I've taught long enough where I've had students who have decided to end their lives because it was just too much. Now I won't be that dramatic about text messaging in class necessarily, but I do want students to know that I'm there for them. At the same time, I also want them to know that it's intended to be for professional use, that anything that we share can be totally open to the administration taking a look at, etc. And I also want them to check the syllabus first and make sure that there isn't an obvious answer to any question that they might have. So that's this first part of the syllabus, and I'll scroll on down and I'll give you some more information.